a true story. Once upon a time, there was a boy named Naoki. And Naoki was from Japan. And when he was 5 years old, his father took training to work for the company he was working in Yokohama, which is a city in Japan. And so they came, he and his family, his mother and his little brother and his dad, all came over to America to a in the middle of the country where his father could be trained. And so poor Naoki was put into school in kindergarten because he was 5 years old. And the problem was Naoki did not speak one word of English. And he was a smaller boy than the rest of the kids, and so sometimes mean kids picked on him. Sometimes kids made fun of the way he looked or the way that he talked, and he picked up English really fast, but every now and again he'd mispronounce a word or not know a word. He'd get frustrated and, get quiet like sometimes you do when you're frustrated and angry and you don't know what to say. You just don't say anything to anybody. But there was a boy in his class who also sometimes spoke a little funny. He had what's called a speech impediment, and so sometimes he lisped. Sometimes he said W's instead of L's, so instead of saying look, he'd say wook. And so he and Naoki became friends, and that boy's name was Bill. So Bill and Naoki became good friends, and they played together all the time, and eventually, because they both, understood each other, they went to each other's houses and played together, and their families got to know each other, and it was wonderful. By the end of the year, Naoki's dad had finished his training, and he'd learned a whole bunch of English, and then he and his family went back to Japan. But instead of being treated like an outsider, thanks to first Bill's friendship and then other people's friendship, Naoki left with a whole bunch of friends in his kindergarten class. And they got to learn about Japanese things like special Japanese desserts and how to fold little paper butterflies out of paper called origami. And so he had become an insider rather than an outsider. And years later, Naoki's family wanted to return the favor of the friendship that had happened between the two families, Bill's family and theirs, and they invited Bill's family to come and stay at their house in Japan. They even built a whole level onto their house so they would have room for Bill's family to come and visit. And so of course you couldn't say no. So Bill's family got to go to Japan and explore and learn all about this beautiful country. And they too were accepted, not as outsiders, but as insiders. There was a great festival, and they were encouraged to dress in kimonos and to take part in the folk dances. And over the intercom, the people of the village talked excitedly about how the blonde children were out there doing the dance to kill the dragon right alongside all the other children of the village. And so it's a wonderful story about breaking down barriers. And so that's what I want to talk to you about. It's very easy sometimes to only want to be near people that are like you or that you know and that you're comfortable with. But I want to encourage you guys that whenever you see somebody who might be different or alone, that you go up to them and get to know them. Not just because you feel sorry for them, but because you're going to learn something from them. We learned all kinds of things to this day, because I'm going to tell you, Bill's family was my family. To this day, we sit around and we talk about the things we learned, and we all fold paper cranes and paper birds out of origami paper that we still have from when we went to Japan. To this day, that gift of breaking through those barriers and becoming friends with somebody who was very different from us continues to bless us and help us to see not that people are others, but that we're all at heart alike. We all want to be loved and accepted. We all want to be known for who we are instead of having assumptions made about us. So I want to encourage you, kids, to make sure that you don't ever miss the chance to make a friend with somebody who's different than you, and that you reach out to people and let them into your circle of friends and invite them in, and that you're curious and interested in other people's lives. Because the gifts from that kind of gift keep on giving. Today in our gospel, we're going to hear about another example of that kind of breaking through barriers. And so I just want to encourage you to do that same thing in your life. The blessings are without number. Amen.